So as Ben said, this semester I have been doing a little bit of research on the Islamic religion, so I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about what I learned. So kind of an introductory quote that I found from URI, that was a website name, not sure what it stands for. It said that Islam is an Arabic word that means surrender, submission, commitment, and peace. It is the path to attain complete peace through voluntary submission to the divine will. So it kind of explains like the overall purpose and like goal of that religion. So the history and location started around 7th century in Arabia. It started in Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia, that's close to the Red Sea. So right here on the map, right there you see Mecca. So that's kind of where it started. And then there's Saudi Arabia. And so it started with a guy that you guys have probably heard of, who is Muhammad. It started on Mount Hira, which is where the Archangel Gabriel appears to Muhammad and gives him a message from God saying that he is to be a messenger for his people. So a little bit of background about this Muhammad guy. He was born in Mecca, which is where this started. His parents died when he was young, so he decided that he was going to run away to this mountain and to this cave and hide. But on this mountain, Mount Hira, like I said, this angel Gabriel finds him and gives him a message from God. It says that he is to be a messenger and spread the message of the Islamic religion. And so the message basically was talking about the existence of one God, an all-powerful and all-merciful God. And so that kind of sounds similar to our Christian beliefs. There's one God, he's all-powerful, he's all-knowing, but there's a couple differences that I'll get into later about their like whole meaning of God. And so, like I said, Muhammad, or no, I haven't said this yet, but Muhammad is the present-day example for Muslims to follow. Muhammad is to Muslims as Jesus is to us Christians, if that makes sense. So, some general facts. This is the second largest religion in the world. There's over 1 billion followers. So the Bible verse it's in the Corinthians maybe, it talks about how the harvest is plentiful. There's 1 billion people out there that follow Islamic religion, so Christians. So most of the Islamic sacred places are in the Middle East, like I said, in the Arabian Peninsula. The most sacred place is in Mecca, and this includes the Kaaba, I think I'm saying that right, and that's what this structure is right here. It's a big shrine that's believed to be built by Abraham, and so that is what Muslims are supposed to pray towards. When they pray, they're supposed to pray and face the direction of Mecca, Saudi Arabia. They're supposed to pray to this Kaaba type structure. Also, in this area, Muhammad designated this as the most holy city of Islam. Excuse me. And then the second most sacred place is Medina, which is also in Saudi Arabia. That's where Muhammad fled when he was driven out of Mecca, and from there he also established Islam. And then the third most sacred place is Jerusalem, and that's where it's believed that Muhammad ascended into heaven. So then grab some water real quick. Okay, now we're good. Some of the major beliefs, like I said, they believe in God. They believe in one God, that he is all-powerful, all-merciful, but there's only God. He has no son, he has no partner, so they don't believe in the Trinity, which is contradictory to the Christian faith where we believe in the Trinity. God has a son named Jesus. God has no race, no gender, no body, and he's unaffected by the characteristics of human life. In the Quran, this is how God describes himself. It says, "Say, he is God, the one, God to whom the creatures turn to for their needs. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and there is none like him." And that's in Quran chapter 112, verses 1 through 4. Islam also rejects that God rested on the 7th day of creation, but instead he wrestled with one of the angels. Couldn't really find why they believe that, but that's one of their beliefs. And like I said, God is not Jesus, and God is not part of the Trinity. So then they also have a belief in angels. Angels worship God alone. They obey him and act only by his commands. And among the angels is Gabriel, which there's an angel Gabriel in the Christian faith. But this angel Gabriel is the one that delivered the message to Muhammad, and he was the one that went out and spread the Islamic religion. And also there's a belief in God's revealed books. God revealed books to his messengers as proof and guidance for them. And there's only 4 prophets that have their own book. So there's the Torah that was given to Moses. There was the Bible that was given to Jesus, Zabur given to David, and the scrolls given to Abraham. And so the Quran is like a culmination of all 4 of those books. And that's the book that the Muslim people follow and read today. Then they also have belief in prophets and messengers of God. So Adam was the first prophet. Then it goes down the line to Noah and Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and Jesus. And then there are like 25 of them total, but those are just some of the main ones. And then lastly is Muhammad. Muhammad was believed to be the last prophet sent by God, and so he was the one that sent out the message to the people. They also believe in the day of judgment. Humans will be judged for their actions and choices in life. Those who follow God's guidance will be rewarded with paradise, and those who reject God's guidance will be punished with hell. And so their version of rewarded with paradise is a little bit different from Christianity, and so I'll get into that here in just a little bit. Also, they have a belief in Al-Qadar, which I think I'm saying that right, but it means predestination, divine predestination. So whatever happens in one's life is preordained. God has given human beings free will, meaning, and humans can choose right or wrong, but they are responsible for their choices. And this belief includes belief in 4 things. God knows everything, what has happened and what will happen. God has recorded all that will happen and has recorded all that has happened and all that will happen. Whatever God wills to happen will happen. Whatever He doesn't will to happen will not happen. And God is the creator of everything. And so that basis of divine predestination is based off of those 4 beliefs. And then they have a belief in salvation. Christians also have a belief in salvation, but their belief is a little bit different. Their salvation is attained through doing good deeds. If you are a good person, live a good life, and help others, then you will receive salvation. There's certain things that you must do and participate in the Islamic religion to make you a good person. And if you don't do these good deeds or do these good things, then that will affect your salvation, and you won't be able to rack up your rewards, as they say, in order to get into heaven. And so when you do these good deeds, it earns you rewards. I don't know if it's like a number system, but somehow if you do so many good deeds, or you do all your good deeds and you act as a good person, then that gets you enough rewards to get you into heaven, and that gets you into the Islamic religion, and that's believed to make your life easier. It's kind of what their kind of thought process is. So, yeah, then comparing obviously to Christianity, we believe in sin. It's just like they do, but salvation does not come from our works. It comes through faith in Jesus Christ, death, and resurrection. Muslims also believe in eternity. They believe in heaven, and they believe in a hell, and that death is forever. There is no reincarnation. Not sure the depths of that, but that's the basics of what they believe. And so the purpose kind of this religion, I interviewed Nazura, and I asked her what the purpose of Islam was, and this is what her response was. It says, in doing all the good deeds, one will get rewarded, and God will make your life easier. And so like I said earlier, when you rack up enough rewards, that makes you a good person, and in turn, your life will get easier. So that might not be the belief of all Muslim people, but that's the main kind of general consensus of most people who believe in the Islam religion. So compare that to Christianity. We know that being a Christian, your life is not easy, and God's still going to test you and try to grow you in your faith. So a little bit different and contradictory there. So that's just the beliefs again. Then there's 5 principles that they kind of live by. So the first is the belief in God, which is also Shahada. And this is the first thing that you have to admit to if you want to be in Islam. You have to admit that there is one God. There's only one God. And so the next one is you have to pray 5 times a day. Muslims are called to prayer 5 times each day at dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and evening. So it's a lot of prayer. And when they pray, like I said, they have to face towards the direction of Mecca, which is the holy city. And then on Friday, the noon prayer should be said preferably at a mosque with a congregation. So I think that's typically when they have like their church services, like Friday afternoon. Next is fasting, which goes along with Ramadan. You fast for a whole month from sunrise to sunset, and this is during the holy month. I think this, from what I gathered, the exact dates kind of change each year because their calendar is based on a lunar calendar. And so for 2019, Ramadan is May 5th through June 4th. So just an FYI, May 5th to June 4th is Ramadan this year. And then Eid Fitr, I think is how you say it, is the word that they have for the end of Ramadan, and that is celebrated with a big feast. And so that's after a whole month of fasting. And another one is tithing. During Ramadan, one must pay a tithe to the Islamic center in one's area, and the leaders of the Islamic center distribute it to the people of that community. And so you're supposed to pay per household or per family, and this is called a wealth tax. And then lastly, the last one is you must go to Mecca. And so this is called Hajj, H-A-J-J. And so this is like a pilgrimage to Mecca, and this lasts about 5 days. And so you're supposed to, in order to kind of complete your 5 principles to be considered Islamic, you're supposed to go to Mecca and actually pray to the Kaaba. But you can also pay someone to go in your place if you physically cannot go to Saudi Arabia, Mecca. Just to go into some traditions, a little bit more about that. So with the women, a girl must marry someone else who isn't Islam if they still want to be considered Islamic. Girls are only allowed to expose their face and their palms, and if they're around anyone outside their immediate family, they must cover themselves completely. Ramadan was another tradition that we kind of just talked about. They have their fast, and then during the months of May to June, they have their fast for a whole entire month. And then food, talking about the halal foods. Halal means permissible, so there's only certain foods that they're allowed to eat and certain foods they're not allowed to eat during Ramadan. So obviously, as some of you might know, they are not allowed to eat pork. So that's one food that they're not allowed to eat. And if they do eat meat, it must be properly slaughtered and cannot be wasted. Also, when cutting the chicken, you must cut it, and when you cut it, you must say in the name of Allah. There's like a special symbolism there. You can eat veggies and you can eat seafood, and you're not allowed to drink alcohol because it's believed that it'll make you unconscious and you'll be more susceptible to do wrong things, which will affect you getting your salvation. And then another tradition is almsgiving, as they call it, and that kind of goes back to talking about the tithing. It's the sharing of the wealth is basically what it means. And so everyone has a social responsibility of paying that fixed tax of 2%, which is called the wealth tax, and that's the tax, again, that you pay to the Islamic Center, and they distribute it among the people in the community. Then this is just kind of a general visual, I guess, of just the comparisons and the contrasts of Christianity and Islam, and then kind of what they both have in common. So, like I said, Christianity, they believe in the Trinity, and we have the Bible. God rested on the 7th day. The Bible was inspired by God, but written by ordinary people, and Jesus was the messenger of the faith for Christianity. For Islam, there is no Trinity. God is no center, no partner. It rejects that God rested on the 7th day. Instead, he wrestled with angels. The angel Gabriel brought down the Quran to Muhammad, so it's just by him. And then Muhammad was the messenger of faith. And then for both, like I said, there's one God, there's a belief in angels. Both religions have prophets, the day of judgment, eternity, and they believe that God is the creator. So then, from this, kind of my personal understanding, I gathered that there's several similarities with Islam and Christianity, yet the deeper meanings behind the words have a lot bigger difference. And so if you're trying to have a conversation with an Islamic person, you have to be very careful with how you word your things and like the meaning that you have behind what you say. If that makes sense. But you just got to be creative when talking. If you're trying to have a spiritual conversation with someone, just be creative and just know kind of your foundation of your faith before you go saying certain words, because yes, they believe in God, and yes, they believe in creation and that kind of stuff, but make sure that you know kind of what you're talking about. But overall, I really enjoyed learning about the Islamic faith, and this summer, I'm going to Malawi this summer, Malawi, Africa, and Islam is the #1 religion there. So